Welcome to another episode of Bucket List Coach Web Show, a special aviation guest. Well, hello. So glad to be back. 2-month hiatus, and I'm going to introduce you to the guest here shortly. But my name is Cindy Lee. I am with Bucket List Coach Web Show. I started in the travel space back in 2007. And so I've just been really into making the most of the dash. So we have the day that we're born and the day that we pass away. What are you doing making the most of the dash? This podcast was actually motivated by Anthony Bourdain. I was a chef as well for 20 some years. And then I started into travel podcasting. So rest in peace. We actually have a great guest coming here in a week or two that actually is paying it forward to Anthony Bourdain on TikTok. So you'll get a chance to meet him. So make sure that you follow National Day Calendar on TikTok. I'm a national ambassador with them. Really great days to celebrate every single day. And of course, nationaldaycalendar.com. And if you share this broadcast and you comment and subscribe on YouTube at Bucket List Coach Web Show, you will get gifted a 3-night hotel stay. So today I have my friend David. He is an amazing new friend. We actually met earlier last year for our love of the F-14. So he was a Top Gun instructor and radar intercept officer with the F-14. Anytime, baby.
So very good. Very nice. Thanks for having me back, Coach. It's nice to. It's always nice to talk to you, and I enjoy your opening role that shows all your adventures that you've done, as well as your Facebook page and your YouTube page. You've done a lot, and you're doing a lot. You're making the most of the dash. So way to go.
Thank you, Bio. So let's talk about your story, what you did, and what inspired you to write the book.
My story was that I wanted to fly jet fighters. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. I didn't care whether it was Navy or Air Force for many years. And then when I had to make the decision, I went with the Navy. And shortly after I made that decision, my eyesight started to go bad. So I couldn't be a pilot. That caused me distress for a few months until I figured out where I was going to go. But luckily, like I said, I'd selected Navy. So I was in Navy ROTC in college. And the Navy was bringing out the F-14 Tomcat, new spectacular fighter. And the guy in the back could wear glasses. So I set that as my goal. It's still competitive. It's still challenging. You don't just say, you don't designate yourself. You set that as your goal and then you work hard to reach it. And if everything works right, you end up where you want to be. So I ended up flying F-14 Tomcats as a backseater or Rio, like Goose. And, I've got my F-14 here too.
Inverted, baby.
And then after my first squadron tour, during my first squadron tour, I went to Top Gun as a student, which was an incredible experience of flying. And then after that, I went back to Top Gun as an instructor. So I was an instructor at the Top Gun school from 1984 to 87, 2.5 years. And it was a life-changing experience, basically. So then I went back to flying F-14s and doing other things and did a 20-year career. And shortly after I retired in 1999, I'm thinking back, one day I was driving home from work at my office job, and I said, I'm going to write a book. So I told that to my wife, and she goes, oh, I think that's a good idea. And that started my long process of writing a book and getting published. And my first book, Top Gun Days, came out in 2010. If you want, I'll tell you more about writing a book and all of that. You want to hear more about that?
Definitely. I'm actually going to publish my first book this year. So definitely.
Okay. Well, we could talk about that offline, although I've got all kinds of experience, lessons learned and stuff. For me, I loved the process of writing. I enjoyed it. When I was done, I felt like I really accomplished something. But in my case, I ended up revising the book several times over the next few years while I was looking for a publisher. And I also got some excellent criticism from a few people. So, but I enjoyed the project. I mean, it was my hobby. And so when the book was finally published, and I saw the hard copy, it was very rewarding. And like I said, that was in 2010. Since then, I've written 2 more books, and my latest book is called Tomcat Rio, which you have right behind you there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The thing about Tomcat Rio is I asked the publisher to print it on larger size paper so that the photos would show up better. Yep. There you go.
Wow.
And in addition, I worked with a new editor, and this guy, he was great. We got along very well. And I had learned a lot from writing my first 2 books and then working with this new editor. So I really like this book. I mean, it's got some of my favorite stories. It's got some lively writing and stuff like that. So I'm very happy with it.
Do you want to share one of those stories? A catapult story?
No, I'll tell you the story about this plane on the cover picture.
Wow. Okay.
So one thing you'll notice is these F-14s are camouflage painted. That was something our squadron actually did. We got the officers, the pilots and the Rios went out there on a Saturday morning with rollers and water paint, and we painted about half the jets in camouflage. And we did that for an upcoming exercise. And I mean, I thought the Tomcat was cool, but then when you go out there and you walk up to a camouflage jet and you're climbing on it to man up and everything, it's just extra cool. Then the other thing is, for this situation right here on the cover, it was at the end of this like 2 or 3 week exercise, and the pilot I was flying with, we got tired of playing by the rules. So we went down to low altitude. I mean, we were down at 1,000 feet. We could have gone lower, but 1,000 feet was good enough. We went as fast as we could go, which was about 900 miles an hour. And then our radars were, and we turned off our little pods. So we disappeared from the tracking range. And then our radars were looking for the bad guys, the adversaries. When we saw them, we popped up and we simulated launching Phoenix missiles, and we got kills. And so it was just a fun story. I mean, it was a fun episode. And I worked with an artist in Europe to create this, because nobody took a picture. I mean, that's me in that airplane. Nobody took a picture. So that's the only computer generated picture in there. And it just recalls, a memorable time for me. Oh, thanks for asking.
So tell me the Top Gun bar story back in the 80s. Was it 85, 86?
Yes. Okay, before we go any further, though, I want to say something that some of your more observant viewers have they're probably going crazy about this. The black airplane silhouette that's on the screen, and we talked about this before, that's something that your program provided. That's actually a Russian jet. It looks like an Su-27 flanker to me. And I go, you know what? When I was a Top Gun instructor, I played the adversary. I simulated the enemy. So we can act like that, as a tribute to my background as a Top Gun instructor also. But let me tell you about the Top Gun movie bar scene. When I was an instructor, one of my, side duties was to arrange an event, each class, where the class would go out one evening and they would hear a presentation by a Navy fighter pilot or backseater who had killed a MiG in Vietnam. So he had succeeded in aerial combat. And at the time, this was right around the time they were filming the Top Gun movie, and the squadron commander said, "Hey, Bio, I want you to go down to the Kansas City barbecue and set up, see if they can set up our MiG killer debriefs down there." So I'm going like, Skipper. I go to the golf, I go to the Oak Club or the little snack house, whatever, snack shack at the golf course, and I go to something like that. It's easy. I go, why are you making me change? But I said, okay, yes, sir. So I went down there and I met these people, and they were so friendly and so nice. And you had them on your program a couple of months ago, Martin and Cindy Blair, who
Yeah.
own the Kansas City Barbecue. There you go. And they turned from working with them, they've turned into be lifelong friends. And so, every time I think of that, I have to thank the skipper for telling me to do that. So we used to go down there every class, and we would take the whole class would go down there. We'd have a guy who had a victory in aerial combat. He'd tell his story. We'd eat barbecue. We'd drink a few beers, and everybody would just get, a night off socializing and still learning some lessons. So that was okay. So you called it the Top Gun Bar. That was the restaurant where they filmed that, and they call it the sleazy bar scene.
Yeah.
And so several scenes from the movie were filmed at the Kansas City Barbecue in downtown San Diego. And
there's a thank you.
Oh, look at that.
The Blairs, yeah. And it's somewhere around here, but I have the challenge coin too from the bar. It's super cool.
Well, when I was in San Diego last year, publicizing my new book, look at that. That's a nice coin too.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with the Kansas City Barbecue and a San Diego newscaster, and we did a live remote from the Kansas City Barbecue at like 7:00 one morning. So,
oh wow,
well, they weren't open
that early.
They were not open for a barbecue, but they had started the ovens, and on that time it was up to me to bring the donuts. So I brought the donuts and coffee.
Wow, that is so.
Oh, they're a great couple, and
yes,
and they took. I mean, this is it's an American success story. It was like a sleepy little bar. And they purchased it and they converted it into this barbecue restaurant. And it's been a success now for, do the math, 35, 38, whatever it is, years.
Mm-hmm.
So,
wow.
Because it opened there
coming up in May.
I will be out there in May. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be part of the Top Gun movie fans group special event. And that's a Facebook group. And I'll be out there, part of that.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'll be streaming on over at the Midway, and then also be streaming over at the barbecue house. So I'm
looking forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, definitely. So we have about 5 minutes left. What else would you like to touch on about creating your ultimate bucket list?
My ultimate bucket list, after a career of flying F-14s and traveling the world, it's hard for me to define something that's still on my bucket list, because I feel like I got to live the things that I really wanted to do. I visited the places I wanted to visit. Mm-hmm. And in fact, outside of the Navy, my wife and I have been fortunate. We've taken some nice trips also, and we've enjoyed visiting places. So, now I think my bucket list is more just enjoy my dash and take opportunities as they come up, because life's been pretty good to me so far, so I've got to be thankful for that.
But you got to mark off the ultimate career bucket list. I mean, being a part of the F-14 lifestyle, that must have been so epic.
Well, something that's interesting, Coach, is that and can I use your call sign, Coach?
Yes, and I want you to tell people what call signs are about here before we end the call.
Okay. Something that's interesting is when you are flying F-14s as a pilot or RIO, it has to be your dream to get there. The Navy doesn't send people there that don't want to be there. So you have to have it as your goal. You have to work hard to get there. And then when you get there, you're flying this fantastic jet fighter. You're doing all these missions and stuff, but you've got to put it in perspective. It's your day job. You do it day after day. And Coach, one thing, I try to think about what was like the less fun part. And for example, if you're a young single guy, you may have to fly at like 10:00 on a Friday night. So that means you got to go to the squadron and brief, at 6 p.m. or so. And it's like everybody wants to be out running around town and stuff. You got to go fly these jets. and, or, even if you're a married guy, time away from home and stuff. So all that stuff, it helps to ground you in the job, but still you get in that jet, you go zooming around the sky, and it's like, I think everybody, we used to sit there and we go, they pay us to do this. And of course, if you're there and combat breaks out and you're getting shot at, then it's like, okay, this is what we get paid for. So, it's a complex situation, but for me, it was just tremendous. It was more than I could have expected. You want to know about call signs?
Yes. Talk about call signs.
We might talk a little bit long today. Is that okay?
We're only 15 minutes. So yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, I always go over with you. Yeah, because you have such great content, and I really enjoy you as a guest.
Some people who are like aviation historians have said that call signs started probably around World War II. They started to become more popular. Maybe they were around a little bit before that, but not everybody had one. So by the time I came along I joined my first squadron in 1981. Everybody had a call sign. And I think in the United States, probably by the 1950s and 60s, aviators had call signs, at least fighter aviators. So what it is one, it helps kind of disguise the identity of the person flying. So if you're flying over enemy territory, you don't use real names. So, they can't look you up in the phone book or whatever, or if they get a squadron roster, they can't, look you up. Two, over time, there's always common names. When I was a kid, it was Jim and Mike and Bill and stuff like that. Nowadays, there's different common names, Jake, whatever.
Hey, Joe.
Joe, yeah. But so you want to have everybody in the squadron has a unique call sign. And then the call sign is sometimes based on the person's name. Like my call sign bio is based on Baranek. Baranek rhymes with bionic. I told him I wanted my call sign to be bionic, but the guy I was flying with looked at me and he goes, I can't call you bionic, because I was 6'2", 165 pounds. I was very skinny. And he started calling me bio, and it stuck. And I go, that's good. Awesome. Sometimes people do something stupid and they get a new call sign, or they get a call sign or a new call sign. And many times a call sign is, either embarrassing or even naughty. Like I've known people who you hear their call sign and you go like, oh man, you don't want to explain to your grandmother what that means, So, but everybody has call signs. Most of them are humorous. Some of them are naughty. And something that I've noticed the last time I went out to the Tailhook convention, and I was hanging out with some of the young people, their frame of reference these days is very different than it was when I was in, because there's different movies, different TV shows and things like that. So, but they do still have call signs, and they are still funny.
Yeah. And thank you for coming up with mine. I guess that was pretty easy.
Hey, because of your public profile, I thought you deserved a straightforward call sign. There's, yeah. And it's appropriate. You're a bucket list coach. So there you go, coach.
Exactly.
That's it.
I want to do a big plug today to Paul Chappie Ward. He is the most amazing docent there at the Midway. And I introduced you a few months prior. But you're going to just love meeting him. He's just a wealth of knowledge there at the Midway. Is there anything you want to say about the Midway? Have you been there?
I have been there. I've been there a few times. It makes me nervous to get on an aircraft carrier, because 5 times in my life I've gotten on an aircraft carrier and went out for a 6 or 7 month deployment. So every time I get on there now, I go like, oh no. But the USS Midway it is an incredible collection of military history, aviation history, patriotism. It talks about, sacrifice, camaraderie, professionalism. You can see it right there. And the docents like Paul and the other docents there and tour guides and the displays, they do a fantastic job of giving people insight into what naval aviation was like, what life on an aircraft carrier was like. I mean, it's too bad they can't actually fire up the catapults and actually launch an airplane for you, because that is just spectacular to see, a 35 ton jet go rocket from 0 to 150 miles an hour in 2 seconds. And there's guys that their job is to stand right next to it and give it a final look. They're called final checkers, troubleshooters.
The shooter.
Yeah. And they stand right next to it and watch it. So there are people who are very close to it. It's too bad they can't do that for you in the museum, but everything else about the Midway is incredible. They've got a fantastic collection of airplanes, and I understand it's the #1 tourist attraction in San Diego, and that's saying something.
Oh yeah, it's really, really amazing. And as a matter of fact, coming up in a few weeks, Paul will be back on the show to talk about the Top Gun movie night.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, what better venue to watch the movie than the USS Midway? A few years ago, I went up to the USS Intrepid in New York City.
Oh, really?
And I was their MC, introduced the movie and kept the crowd entertained until it got dark enough to start the film. Because they go, well, we're not sure exactly what time sunset is, when it's going to get dark. So Dave, just stand up there and talk until we give you the signal, and then we'll start the movie. So that was a lot of fun, because I don't know if we said this, but I helped to make the movie.
Yeah. No, we didn't. Yeah, let's talk about that real quick, and then we'll close out.
I happened to be a Top Gun instructor when the movie people came along. And to their credit, I mean, Coach, I really don't have anything bad to say about the Hollywood people that worked on the movie Top Gun. They were professional. They asked us for our opinion and our input, and then they took it as much as they could. I mean, they're the movie professionals, so we had to, they had the final say. But on many factors, they asked us what they should do. And then at the end of the movie, John Simkin and I went up to Hollywood and spent a couple of days helping put the aerial scenes together and write the dialogue. We gave them, a first cut at the dialogue for all the flying scenes. And it was fascinating to get the behind the scenes account or behind the scenes look of making a movie. Not an account. I mean, we did it. They taught us how to operate the editing machine.
Wow.
So when they were filming the movie, they asked the instructors, they said, write your name down on a piece of paper. We're going to put you in the credits. And then I recall them telling us, oh, the credits are too long. We're not going to put your names in there. And I go like, okay, well, can't do anything about that. And then the movie came out and there's our names in the credits. And I go, oh, okay, well, that's cool.
Wow.
We met the young actors, Coach, you've seen, I took pictures that are in my books. I've taken pictures. When we met these actors, they were so young and basically, not well known. I have no pictures that I took standing next to them, with them, etc.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it just didn't seem to be important. The only pictures I have like that are one of my buddies took a few pictures and let me use them. Like, there's Goose and my wife and me.
Oh, wow.
And that's from one of my friends took that and let me use it in the book. So,
really
I mean,
cool.
I just have to tell you that I was unprepared for the reception this movie got. I just go like, oh, they're filming a movie, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm not a good, I don't have a good crystal ball view into the future.
Well, we're at 25 minutes. So in closing, let's do a recap on the books, and then I'll put you in the green room.
My first book, Top Gun Days, talks about being a new guy in an F-14 squadron, being a Top Gun instructor, and working on the movie Top Gun. My second book, Before Top Gun Days, talks about the training in Pensacola and F-14 training. And then it's got a few stories from the fleet just to show what the training is. And my newest book, Tomcat Rio, talks about the rest of my career. And the easiest way for people to get them is on Amazon or their online bookseller. Coach, thanks for having me back. And thank you for continuing to support aviation and also support people realizing their bucket list dreams.
Thank you so much. I'm going to pop you off the broadcast and then just hang tight for about 1 minute while I close out. Wow. Make sure that you follow David. You can see his website here, and also you could follow him on Facebook. So next on the show, on the 2:00 show, I have my friend Jim Holden with the Fish for Life Foundation. And I have my friend Shayla with John's Fish Market, as this weekend we're celebrating the Festival of Whales. We'll see you on the next show.